Okay, here on Record Collector, I'm here with the West Coast influential grunge rockers, I hope I can call you that, Failure, and I'm here with Ken Andrews and Greg Edwards. How are you both?
Good.
And obviously it's the first time in the UK in 20 years. So can you remember your last UK gig in this country?
At the last gig?
Yeah, I remember we opened for Tool.
Yeah.
That's the only one I remember.
Astoria, before it was torn down.
Excellent. Obviously you're back again, and what's the reason behind reforming again and give it another shot? So obviously you've both been busy over the years, doing other things.
I think it was just, we kind of felt like we had something to say, you know? And we felt like, after we experimented in the studio, we felt like, hey, this is sounding cool. Let's keep going. I think if it wouldn't have early on, we probably would have just not done this. But we felt like there's something cool going on. It's something that is very Failure. So it just made sense.
Yeah, it seemed like a valid continuation from leaving off from the last record from Fantastic Planet. But obviously there were years intervening, so if this record that was made now had come out right after Fantastic Planet, it would have been strange. But considering the years that have passed, I think we made the logical follow-up.
And do you feel like, 96 was when Fantastic Planet came out, so it's 19 years ago. Has that time flown by?
No.
I think when we're working, it sort of seems like it's...
Yeah.
It seems like we could have made Fantastic Planet 18 months ago.
Yeah, that part of it, yeah, our working relationship just picked up right where we left off. Yeah.
Fantastic. And do you feel like the musical climate has moved along in any way?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like whatever's happened has been good for us because we seem to have a new crop of younger people that are into the band.
Many of whom would have seen you first time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a positive thing.
So in that sense,
But
maybe.
yeah, I think
people
music, my perception of what's happened to music in the last 10 or 15 years is that in general, people who consider themselves music lovers really have a wide range of stuff they listen to, and there's a lot more like really valid, deep artists out there that you can get into. Whereas when we were making Fantastic Planet the years before that, it was very trend-based. People would be kind of into one sort of thing, and now you have such a wide range of electronic, underground hip-hop. Not so much rock and roll. There's not much good rock that I can think of, but it's just,
We're aiming to change that.
Good. That's the right attitude.
But I think in general there's still the crap pop stuff, of course. But I think that in general the serious music listener has a wider sonic palette.
Yeah, there's room for like bands to like us, maybe that are not so pop, a little fringe, to do something, you know, and be appreciated by however many people.
Great. And you've got a new album, it's not out yet, but it's be out soon. Heart is a Monster.
That Hard is a Monster, yeah.
And where did the album title come from? It's quite a unique album title.
It was actually it came out of this quote from Emily Dickinson, which I think gets wrongly attributed to Woody Allen a lot because he used it in a film in the last 10 years or so. But it's the heart wants what it wants. Her complete thing is the heart wants what it wants, or it doesn't care. I don't know why, but that just sort of, there were a lot of gruesome, intense things going on in the world and in the news, and the people that were perpetrating them were coming from a place of extreme conviction. which you would have to say resides in the heart. So it was kind of this idea that the worst things that humans can do, and the most humane, the most nurturing things humans can do, both come from the heart. The heart doesn't really differentiate; it just has the conviction, and
It's a monster in that sense.
it's a motherfucker.
But basically, humans are capable of doing nasty things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
around the
but
world, yeah.
it's coming from conviction, and then it also becomes hard. If you remove the moral compass, it becomes easy to see how, when somebody believes in something intensely, how can you blame them? In a certain sense, I mean, it's easy to blame them because it's horrific and detestable, but there's another way of looking at it.
Fantastic. But with this album, Heart is a Monster, you sort of, I suppose it's something new for you. You've done like a pledge campaign where fans sort of donate money or fund the album in advance, and it's been highly successful for you. I believe it's like 6-figure sum you raised. Does that surprise you, the money you raised for it?
Well, we didn't really use it as a finance the record because we were already fine there. We were halfway through the record actually. It was more of a pre-order campaign. That part of it is really cool for a band like us. You know, we have a few thousand hardcore fans. They're more than happy to pre-order the album, and it just kind of gets that ball rolling for the whole, the whole campaign, the whole tour, everything, and it gets us communicating with those fans early on, and we kind of figure out what they're into and what kind of things we can make available for them.
And if you notice a big change, obviously since '96, social media has moved in such a way that you now communicate with fans totally different to what we would have done 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's completely. It's like now you can talk directly to your fans, and before that's something we've kind of battled with a little bit because I think when we were younger, the bands were so much more mysterious, and that's not around anymore. So it's a different thing now, and we're kind of learning how to navigate it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever learn how to navigate social media. I like to lurk and I like to voyeuristically get into it, but I don't like to actually interface as myself.
Yeah.
I don't have any kind of account with my name on it, which we were just talking about that.
So the trick is never give too much of your personality away.
Well, at the same time, we were just talking about the idea that the anonymity of the internet is actually a real issue, because in a way people should have to be accountable for what they do on the internet, because it's too easy to just spread shit and toxic ideas without having to answer for it. That's not necessarily what freedom of speech is about, being an anonymous ghost just saying whatever you want.
Yeah.
You should maybe have to take responsibility. Policing that would be, at this point, impossible, but maybe in some future,
Wise words. And who's produced the album? Have you taken production on yourselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just we kind of tried to go about the process the same way we did Fantastic Planet, because that was kind of a watershed for us in terms of taking the reins in the studio and really finding our voice in terms of sound and texture and expanse and even just the length of the record. That none of that would have happened if we were working with a known producer, I don't think. And so that was kind of a no-brainer. Just go back in and do it that way.
And obviously, like your first album, Comfort, produced by Steve Albini, big name producer, but you weren't happy with the results from that. So what exactly wasn't you happy with that?
There were a number of dimensions we weren't happy with, and it didn't all have to do with his production. I think our performances on the record were, there was something lacking in the feel, something that we had had in almost all of our live shows, and we just kind of didn't get it together for the recording.
Yeah.
Tempos were too fast. There wasn't this kind of cool, stoned, laid back feel that we had on stage at that point. I mean, that was kind of one of the hallmarks, and that wasn't on the record at all. And then Steve just takes a picture. He's a photographer of sound.
Yeah.
He knows the equipment really well. He has great ears. He's a purist sonically. He sets it up. He takes the picture. But that's it. He doesn't.
Yeah, he's like
he doesn't want to retouch it after. He doesn't want to put makeup on before. He's
like to compare to film, he's a director of photography, not a director. And a director is a producer in the music world, basically. So the combination of our naivety and lack of experience with his lack of producer or directorial talent,
which
it was kind of.
So I learned a lot from him, and I think his total integrity in the way that he goes about it. I love that. For certain bands, I think it's incredible. A band like the Jesus Lizard, that he just captured that, and it has all of that energy of them live that rarely gets captured when a band makes a proper record. It's in those records. But
that's the record that we wanted to make with him. Was like a record like that.
Also
we
that
just weren't really up to the challenge.
Yeah, the Breeders' Pod record was another that was. Really.
And now that you are producing yourselves, and you just mentioned like Steve didn't quite capture your live sound, so have you captured your live sound yourselves?
I don't know. I don't know that that's a goal.
We didn't have. I think we wanted to use the studio. We're more like use the studio as an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're too interested in trying to capture a live thing on Magnified or Fantastic Planet. I mean, we do tend to track rhythm section live. We don't completely build it brick by brick, but it's more of, we discovered our studio sound on Fantastic Planet, I think.
Yeah, I mean, with people listening to records, you rarely are people listening through huge speakers and getting that kind of sound pressure level in their ears that happen at a live show.
Mm-hmm.
And just that compression that happens in your ears at a live show creates a whole emotional sonic thing that you could never reproduce.
Yeah.
And so the production and layering and different kinds of sound processing when you're recording, to me, has always been another way of making up for that loss in richness and visceral effect you get from a live show.
Fantastic. And with Heart is a Monster, have you just carried on where you left off, or is your music involved? Can people expect a different sound on this album?
I think it's a little hard for us to say because we're a little close to it. We just finished it like 4 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. On the surface, I feel like what Greg said earlier about it being the logical continuation of Fantastic Planet is totally there. But at the same time, a lot of time has passed, and we've all been exposed to and made a lot of different music, and that's all in there too somehow.
I mean, it's not. We never sat down and said, let's write a song like this from Fantastic Planet, or even played chords similar to. We just sort of started with a clean slate, and I think we made something that's as uniquely failure, but at least me, from a non-objective point of view, it seems like a very different thing from the prior 3 records, which themselves I think were very different. Magnified and Fantastic Planet were completely different from each other, and Comfort maybe even more so. So this is at least as different.
Yeah.
Great. But in the past, you have toured with like Tool, Rage Against the Machine, and Jane's Addiction, and you've been highly influential on them. And even Maynard from Tool has even mentioned that Failure, as a band, has been a huge inspiration to me. They say amateurs borrow and professionals still. But over the years, this pro band has robbed these poor saps blind. That's his words. But can you hear that your sound in their music?
Maybe in some of his vocal melodies, I think, you know, we came up at the same time in the LA area, and I think we were playing shows together and going to see each other too. So, yeah, I mean, a little bit, but
Maynard also, Maynard, in the way he uses influences is not necessarily a very intuitive way that you can understand how they come out. The way he synthesizes them. One of his main influences, I believe, is Joni Mitchell.
Oh,
So, you know, go figure that. So I think it's more of, there was something about our sensibility that he just related to.
And who inspired you as you were growing up?
Growing up, it was very different from when I learned how to play guitar. It sort of was into new wave and some of the classic stuff as a child before I became a musician. Then when I became a musician, it was all about the darker bands that I discovered, like The Cure. But early on, it was like AC/DC, you know, more kind of the harder rock. That was my experience.
How about yourself, Greg?
I definitely, The Cure and the Smiths, those albums really kind of blew my mind. The Queen is Dead and The Cure, The Top, and then the Beatles. Yeah. Once I discovered the Beatles, I'm still not out of that black hole.
I say you discovered the Beatles every day. There's no end to it.
Yeah.
One question we always like to ask: what was the first record you ever bought?
Mine was the first Cars record.
Oh yeah.
With the girl with the steering wheel.
Yeah.
The big lipstick. Yeah.
Mine was a cassette of Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh yeah. I won't ask you what you was doing when you was playing that, but. And what music do you listen to these days yourselves?
I'm mostly listening to stuff I'm working on, because I'm always working on stuff, so I'm not really super current with like everything that's coming out. I don't have a good answer for that.
Yeah, I always, I can never remember. I've been listening to a lot of Neil Young lately, which is probably always true.
But there's nothing on the radio you hear, and you fix your ears up. And, oh, that sounds good. Who's that?
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff. I'm just trying to think of.
There was a band we were listening to in the studio. I can't remember. We had the vinyl for it.
Oh, the Swirlies?
Yeah, that's where that's old though.
That's old though.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I wish I could think of it. It's awful that I can't think of it.
To be honest, I'm mostly listening to talk radio.
Yeah.
Because when you spend all day in the studio.
Speaking of talk,
That's an age thing. Once you've been listening to music for 30 years,
Yeah.
those talk references.
Anyway, Ken, Greg, hopefully when you out touring this album, you'll be out there hearing a lot of new music as well.
Yeah.
It's been great talking to you. I wish you all the best for the future. The album's Heart is a Monster, and it'll be out very soon. And in the meantime, there is a video on YouTube, Hot Traveller, and I love it. It's great. So all the best for the future. It's been
Thank
great
you.
talking to you. Thank you.